Our basic program is 9 sessions per week, okay? So we go 3 mornings. I'm going to make this simplistic, but yeah, okay, I'll get into my soapbox in a minute. We would call this power training. Resistance training is a much better way to think about it. And here I am propagating something that I can't stand. Somebody said, what would be the one thing you could do that would make swimming better? And I was like, never use this word again. Particularly if you coach anybody that's not a post-grad or in college. You do not do power training in club swimming. It doesn't happen. You're just trying to give them something they're going to get in college, so by the time they get to us, they've already had it and they don't get better. Give them what they need to have at that age. Another topic. But anyway, power training. Okay. This one is going to be kind of technical or aerobic. This is going to be what we call straight up threshold training, the John Urbanchek colors. You know what it is. We actually do an AM, it's a late AM here, and this will be active rest, and this is long course meters. These are short. Wednesday, we're doing training at max VO2. We're coming back Thursday with another, it's threshold / aerobic in the long course. Friday afternoon is a mix. It could be technical work, but a lot of times it's a big kicking emphasis. Okay? Saturday is max VO2. Or something like that. Kind of depends on who you are. Now, we have our kind of energy systems in place, right? So you have this template, and every week is like this for the most part. You know? In the early season, I don't do the power right away. I try to avoid it as long as I can, and then when I can't wait anymore, I do something. Mainly because they think they need to have it, not because I think they need to have it, right? But we're doing it. And this is working with the buckets. It's shoots, which I like. It's actually quite a bit of underwater kicking, which I love. There's a little bit of pulling in there. There's definitely speed work in there. It's a kind of a mix of things. So you've got that going Monday and Friday. How do we decide what stroke they do on those? It's usually something they're trying to develop. Carson does breaststroke here and here exclusively because he loves the way his stroke is after when he does the resistance on breast. It really helps his stroke get together. And by kind of building that up, it's gotten much, much better. There is this, there's definitely some truth to the fact that if you want to teach somebody a skill, adding some resistance to it makes them feel it better. I had this girl, Sierra Runge, right? This giant girl. She was like 6'5", big girl. She had tiny little feet and hands. It's crazy. She just had a baby, but anyway, she has very small feet and hands. And she was a terrible kicker, but when you come into my group, you're kicking, right? And I was like, we're going to make her a kicker. I put her in that lane, and we did kicking and kicking and kicking, and I yelled, and I was nice, and I did all the things I could do to make her a kicker. She didn't get one bit better. Not at all. It's a lot of time spent on this for no reward, none. And then we were doing some things where, during this session, I had her kick with socks, and I was like, wow, she's probably going to drown. I better watch her. She was better than anybody with socks because her feet actually held water. So the resistance was helping her learn how to kick it. So that's something you can do. But I think this is something you're trying to develop. So, but it's one stroke and it's all the time. Here's another thing that I think coaches are very reticent to embrace. Repetition. Highest form of learning. That's Aristotle, not me. But I wholeheartedly agree. Do things repeatedly. You are not there to keep them, perfectly excited every minute of every practice. You're there to teach them how to do things. And you cannot make these changes without repeating things. So somebody will be like, we'll do breast here, we'll do fly, and the next week we'll come back and breast, and then maybe we'll do backstroke on that one. No, just do breaststroke for 6 weeks and see what happens. Okay? It's simple. Take all this well, they need variation. No, they don't. They need to learn how to do it, and then they need to practice it enough to know how to do it, and then they have to make it stable. You know? It's like these kids in practice, like my guys get so excited because they'll push a time in practice. And they think that means they're at a certain level. And then, of course, I'll give them my favorite. I'm like, well, when you get 100 more of those, you'll be rich. And I'm not lying. That's a concept Michael used all the time. Michael and I use that all the time. If he did a certain time on a certain thing we were doing in practice, he would say, he'd say, man, if I can get 30 or 40 more of those between now and nationals, I'll have it. That's what it takes. It doesn't take doing it one time and having an ice cream party. It takes doing it over and over and over again. And you know what? They'll get into it. Because they know that it's going to give them what they want if you go through this process. So just kind of stick with stuff is my point. When we come here, my big proclivity is to do freestyle on Monday afternoons in the threshold work. But I also do a backstroke. Once in a blue moon, I do some with butterfly and breast. It's actually easier to do with breast than fly. Like 10 400s fly or something. You know, what do you do? A threshold set for fly would be something like this. You go 3 sets of 10 100s and maybe take 30 seconds in between if you like. And this, I'm going to say it's long course. I'm pretending it's long course. You would go 120 and it's all free. You go 125, it's one free, one fly. And then you go 130, all 10 fly at red pace, right? Because it's going to be red pace, so they're doing that, and the heart rate's going to be up. That would be a threshold set for fly. And you could do that a couple times a season. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Or you can sneak it in other sets. I kind of sneak it in the mornings. But that's something you can do. But mainly, you're going to do this endurance working free. You can do it at back. Back works great. My best backstrokers go on the freestyle intervals and just do the same set. Got that from Schubert, what he did with Lenny. So I started doing it, and it works. Okay, here we're going active rest, so we're going 50-50 anaerobic aerobic. So we're going something at a speed and something easy, and most of the rest is easy. Okay. My big proclivity this season, is to do half back and half breast. So the first half of the set is back, second half of the set is breast. Wow, how did we come up with that? I had to think a long time, about 10 seconds. Well, we do back and then breast. All right? So they're getting back and breast. They're getting free. They're getting their weak stroke here or something they want to work on. Maybe it's their third stroke. This is a mix, and it's usually a recovery, because these are tough sessions, right? And they're doing the weights here. You wanted to know. After swimming. No. Yeah, always after swimming. I don't want weights to affect my swimming. I coach the swimming team, not the weightlifting team. So if some sacrifice, it's the weights. The coach knows that. He's very good about it. If I just had 50 freestyles, they might lift and not swim before, but I don't. Particularly this group is all 400 people and 200 people. But so you see, this is going to be recovery, and it's going to be something that our kids love. Go at your own pace. Which, go at your own pace. They call it go up, but it's really gay up, and nobody can say it. But anyway, go at your own pace. But it's 6K, go at your own pace. It's a series of sets, and they go straight through it. Sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 5. Kind of depends on where we are. At the end is 3. But it's a continuous thing, and it's all skill-based, and it changes, and this is almost always doing all the strokes. So they'll get that in there. Just kind of a low-level aerobic swimming. When I say low-level aerobic swimming, they'll do this 6K in, for sure, an hour and 10 minutes. They'll move. I mean, we move. We'll do max VO2 or quality work in the afternoon, and this is usually their best stroke. So this is where the butterflyers are going to get their thing. Right? The backstrokers or breaststrokers, they might get a double dose. That's okay. Yep. So it's going to be quality work, and you'll pick a stroke that you think is probably their best stroke. This is where, in the main part of the season, they will get the actual IMs together, this aerobic work here. Okay? And this is normally where my favorite thing in the world shows up that I got from Murray Stevens. It's called free IM. Free IM is free back breast free. And the reason free IM is powerful is you can train it almost like freestyle, and you can get to the intensities, and you can go on short rests, and you can do big sets of it. You can do anything you want with it, and the butterfly's not messing it up. You know what I mean? As soon as they do butterfly, their heart rate spikes, their technique is terrible, they go easy on backstroke, they do all this stuff. But if you just put free in there, the intensity can be the same, and it's more aerobic, and you can target what you want to do. You can do it quality as well. But you know, this is where we would do the free IM work. This is where we do the big ladders. Everybody loves to do in my group. They like to talk about it. I don't know if they like to do it. But you know, just aerobic swimming, but you're using all the strokes. So this is the one time in the middle of the season that they're getting kind of the parts all put together. Back to your power work that you did on Monday, and then big kicking set. We have been working quite a bit on kicking, and I'm going to talk about this in my next thing, the essentials of coaching. You must fall in love with kicking. You must fall out of love with social kicking. That's not kicking, that's talking. Kicking is when people are breathing so hard they cannot speak. That is kicking. Mitochondrial development. Dr. Picard just told me when he was on the podcast. Okay. Right? You're out of breath. We kick, every one of these sessions is going to have kicking in it, a lot of it. Probably a minimum of 1,000 yards, probably 1,500, every one of these sessions. Okay? But on this day, it's going to have a major, it might be 3K worth of kicking. Might be 1,000 for time, it might be 2,000 for time, it might be 2,100's best average, it might be 1050s on a minute, your best average, or 2 minutes, your best average. We vary, right? And we keep track of the results, and we build it up over time, build it up over time, build it up over time. Probably the best way that we got Michael's breaststroke better was this day, because he would do breaststroke. And I'd give him 1,000 breaststroke kick for time. And he would work it, and in a period of 1,000 with no breaks, you start figuring out how to hold water on your feet. That's why you do that stuff. It's not for aerobic conditioning. There's 10 better ways to that. It's to learn how to do things. Muscular endurance and muscle memory, right? And do it enough that you can experiment with it. That's what these are. I think, super important for us. And then we come back with the quality. And this is probably, for IMers, it might be freestyle again to end the week. It just depends on what they've been doing, right? If they did back here, maybe they do breast there. If they did breast here, maybe they do back or fly there. You know, it's kind of like we're trying to give them something of every part every week. And the ones that probably change the most are this and this, in terms of what stroke you're going to do. I don't know, you can do anything, but what we did Saturday is kind of one of my favorites, and this is this incredibly complicated set. It's 100 fast and 100 easy on 4 minutes. You can do 10, you can do 8, you can do 4, you can do as many as you like. But that's the kind of work I'm talking about with Max VO2. Why do we go on 4 minutes? We go on 4 minutes because when you do an effort, right, you're going to reach your peak blood lactate 3 minutes after the effort. The effort takes a minute. Where will you be at your peak blood lactate when you start the next one? This is called lactate tolerance. If you want to finish 200s, this is the kind of sets that you do. It's ideal for 200 swimmers. And I have been doing this now for 30 years. I never would leave this out. They all call it easy fast, although it's always fast easy, but they like to call it easy fast. So they know what it's going to be. They know how to do it. I've kind of like tweaked it. Sometimes I say descend 1 to 3 and then hold it because they descend them anyway. No matter how much you warm up, you warm up for 4,000, it'll still take the first 2 to get into. But you can do this and then you can taper it down so that I end up with 1 week before the big meet sometimes. I'll go 100 fast and a 200 easy and descend them 1 to 3. So they'll start a kind of an effort and then a really good one, and then a rip one, right? With a 200 easy in between. And that's just kind of like not even on the interval, it's just kind of when I feel like they need to go. But it kind of follows from here. And, you know, the best thing Michael ever did, 1 week before Beijing, I decided we were going to do this butterfly. And I was worried about it because he had done it before unsuited, and before the 2000 meet, he had gone 53 flat on the last 100. Pretty good, no suit. So I'm like, we're for sure suiting up. So I suited his ass up. Leg suit. And he went 55, 53, 51.6 from the push. He was fit. He got out and I was like, well, I'm on vacation now. It's all up to you. Have fun. I did my job. My job is done. He was like, wow, that's pretty good. I'm like, yeah, not bad. But I say that not to wow you with Michael swimming, because everybody knows he's a great swimmer, but just to say this is how it flows from a set where he was doing 10 of these on 4 minutes, and then as we went through the season, we would decrease it to where he would do 3. And actually, the first time he started doing 3, I would just do it on 4 minutes, you know, like normal, but descend it. And then as they get better and better, and they keep putting up these times, you got to find ways for them to keep getting better. So that's where the 200 easy came in. You know, the problem you have with all these high performers is they start doing this crazy shit in practice, and you got to come back and see how can they do better. A lot of times you can't do better. So you engineer these things when you need it. And sometimes you just let them live with their results, which is another way to get this done. But if you were trying to work on IM swimming, whatever you do, and I wouldn't have opposed, if you're doing Asian swimming, I would do free, because this is better to start the week, and then maybe you work on fly, maybe you work on flying back, maybe you do breaststroke, like you can do it, you know, pretty basic with 10-year-olds. And one thing I did find with my Asian swimmers, when I first got into this, I wrote out this whole plan for their development of all the strokes. And it was in a notebook. And it was very detailed, but true to my belief that repetition is the highest form of learning, I did 6 weeks of freestyle. Then I had 6 weeks of backstroke. And I had 6 weeks of breaststroke. And I had 6 weeks of butterfly. I kind of did butterfly last because they were younger, right? And what I learned was, number one, that is incredibly boring. I mean, my God. And when you leave the freestyle for 18 weeks, it goes away. So I would do one day, and just keep cycling that. You know what I mean? So every week they're getting it. And then over the big period of time, they're getting the repetition of these skills. That would be my advice on that thing. Any questions about this? Yeah?
So what stroke are they doing for the Friday power set? I know
they're doing the same as Monday. So whatever, and they don't all do the same stroke. Okay. I mean, you could do, if you're like, you know, you could decide it's the same stroke, but like some people are doing fly, some are back, some are breast, just kind of depending on what we feel like they need to do.
Okay, and then you're switching it 6 weeks later?
Yeah, something like that. Probably
okay.
Something
and then
different.
What about the kick set? Is your weak stroke?
Yeah, kick set could be weak or strong. Just depends.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't always do their weak strength. I do believe you train their strengths and not spend too much time on the weaknesses. Yeah?
On Thursdays, when you say threshold / aerobic,
yeah,
are you saying aerobic is below threshold?
I am. When I say threshold, okay, here's a whole 2 hours. But the bottom line is, I am training up to the anaerobic threshold. What is the anaerobic threshold, kids? The point at which blood lactate cannot be cleared. It begins to accumulate in their system, right? So below that is purely aerobic. So you know, in the old days, white, pink, and then threshold is red. That's a pretty specific thing. This is, you know, probably 4 to 6 millimoles of lactate, if you measured it. It's doable, but it's the best kind of, I think it's the break points, the threshold between anaerobic work and aerobic. So it's a great place to train. Yes, sir?
On that front, so when you're doing the colors in freestyle, everybody knows that you calculate that, right? Based on of test sets.
Yep.
For fly,
Yeah.
Reps, when you're doing those, are you just going based off heart rate?
Yeah, I'm going off heart rate, and you're just kind of manipulating it with the interval so that you know that they're kind of in those ranges. I know that's hard to say, but like when they're going on 130 fly and they're pretty much doing their best average, that is a red pace. They're not going to be doing race pace on that if you're doing 10 of them, right? So if they're kind of defaulting to it, right? And then you measure their heart rates. Yeah, great question. Yes?
You said the stroke before the worst stroke is important. What if the worst stroke is fly?
If their worst stroke is fly? That's the Sunday, go to church and pray. If their worst stroke is fly, you just got to get their fly better. And I do have a philosophy on fly. A very, very good coach told me one time, if you just give them enough fly every other day, they'll be good swimmers. And we do that in small doses all the time. Like when I do one main set of fly a week, typically short repeats for us. I don't do long repeats of it, but it has to be good technique, good kick, all those things. But in all of these, I'm somehow putting fly in. There's fly on them here. There's some fly in here, not too much, but there's definitely fly like in this part somewhere, sometime at the end, or, you know, there'll be some fly work here, there might be some work here. You know, like, I do crazy stuff, like, it ain't really crazy, but it works, but people don't want to do it. But they would do, let's say we finish practice, and we're really going for it, they do the threshold work. The last thing, let's say we're in the yards, it's probably something like 30-50s. And if I'm really mean, they'll all be on 35. And there'll be 5 free, 5 fly. You know? Work it. Sometimes I'll go with the fly on 40 if I'm really nice. But usually it's just on 35. So that's how you kind of get them to be able to do it. If they do enough of it all the time, don't just wait for one set a week to try to make that better. But technically they've got to be good, right? And then you're going to have to decide how you can squeeze it in. I would have the Mondays and Fridays with fly, probably. That would be their thing. Learn how to hold on to water, kick. What do they not do well? They swim like this? You're thinking about some kid.
Just like, it's really kicking.
They just pull it.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Here, kick there. Make them kick. You know, I'll give you an example of the thing that we're doing now on these Mondays and Fridays, how they end. Because if I told you how we ended up, you would say that is the furthest thing from power. And yet it is. So that's why I don't think power is a great name for this. It's more resistance training. But our underwater work would look like this. At the end of the whatever we're doing with the buckets and the chutes and that kind of thing, it's going to be a set like this. And I'm going to make this real simple. It's 425s, free swim on 20. 425s, and this is with fins. Okay? Sometimes it's not, but it's usually with fins. Under fast. On 20. And then 3, 2, 1. Hey, guess what this happened? 2 or 3 times of this. Except for round 2, the swim is fly hard, not free easy. That's round 2. Round 3, everything on 15. What? That's how they get good at staying underwater and kicking hard. Do not do this with your age group swimmers. Do not do it. Just telling you what it looks like and what you're trying to work towards. For you, it looks like this. Sorry, I'm just showing off. I'm kind of excited about this. But it's like the hardest thing that we do. It's one of the harder things that we do. We do it twice. Like, it could be like a 25 free on 30. Right? And then 1 times 12 and a half under fast and swim easy. Right? I'm saying 30. Make it 40. It doesn't matter. And then you can go 1 times free on 30. And you can try 1 times 25 fast if they're good at that. I don't know. You probably got 11, 12s that could do that. Maybe 13, 14, and do a couple rounds of that. The key element in these underwaters is that they have breathing time on the wall. And for young kids, they have a full recovery before these. What we're teaching with these other guys, what you don't understand is 425s on 20 is full recovery for my guys. They swim easy. And even when they do a fly, they're getting 10 seconds. And when they kick, they're getting 10 seconds. So they're getting 1-to-1 work to rest. You just don't want to do it so that they're coming up, taking one breath, and then pushing off again, right? And I guess if they're going on 15, it's kind of like that, but there's very small amounts of it. Very small. Okay? Yes?
Yeah, going back to the fast, easy set you were
Yeah.
suggesting, I just want to make sure I understand it and adapt it for younger swimmers. So your first rendition of it, 100, they're doing that as a straight 200 swim.
You're talking about here.
We're writing it around this.
Oh, this thing that was over here.
Yeah, they're doing like.
They're going 100 fly swim and then 100 free easy.
As a straight 200.
As a straight two. Like they get their time. Touch, get your time, swim 100 easy. Because it's only 4 minutes. It's a long time.
Got it. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
What this would look like. Let's say you did 4 times 150 backstroke and a 50 easy. And this is long course, so I'll just give it to you long course. I should have given you the Monday in yard. Probably on 3 minutes. And this is descend 1 to 4. And then they're probably going to go into 6 100s back. This is actually what we did. 130s the whole thing, plus 215. Plus a 50 easy, right? And this is descend 1 to 3 and hold it, probably something like that. And then we're probably going to end up with 850s, 50 back, 50 easy on 130. And it's descend 1 to 3 and hold it on the 50s. That's active rest. The key element of active rest is the interval's not so big that their heart rate drops in between, right? And this is pushing it. This is a pretty generous interval for the guys I have swimming backstroke. Then I would probably go right into breast, but you could even do the same thing. But my breasts actually looked like this. I did 4 150s. And that's 50 kick, pull, 50 single, double, single, drill, 50 swim, plus a 50 easy. And I actually did 320, I think, or 330, maybe 330. And then the last thing for them was 4 rounds of 450s at a pace, plus a 50 easy. And it was on 140. And the first round of 4 is at 200 speed plus 1. The second round of 4 is at 200. The last one's 200 minus 1. This is actually the actual set from last week. So that's kind of, so you got back, then you're going to have to go into breast. I don't like doing breaststroke, like a lot of 150s long course breaststroke. It would be terrible, so that's why I do the parts. And then I like to do the 50s, because they're also already kind of tired, right? They've already done the thing. Yeah?
On your 4-ride 150 breaststroke, what do you have between the 50 kick pull and 50 swim?
It's a 50 kick, single, double, single. So it's right arm, double, left arm. And I make them start over, right, double, left. I don't come back. I don't know why. Because they get more single arms that way. Yeah?
I'm going back to what you mentioned about kicking.
Yep.
Thousands a day. Are you guys trying to keep it the same, like whenever you're doing Monday, like the hours, the same theme all the way through?
No, I vary it. Kicking on the power work is vertical kicking with weights, maybe.
I'm sorry, I think it's supposed that you still keep the same theme for that practice.
Yeah, it's within the theme of the practice. And it can be different. The kicking, it's like an animal of its own, right? Like the kicking in the threshold sets is probably, it's in part of one of the things that we do, which I really like. I got it from MBAC. The first thing we do is really long, and it has swimming, like your warm-up swimming. It has a preset, it has kicking, and it usually has pulling in it. And it's all one thing. So as part of that, it's going to be 1,000 is probably kick, and it could be just any kind of thing. right? Sometimes it's on shorter rests. Like one that we would do a lot is we would probably go like, and it just depends on the day, but I would go 250s on, this is the short yards, 45, just kind of moderate, and then 1 times 100 hard, just hard effort. And you know, when you're trying to get, I don't get too fancy with it, but I just say 100 hard, just work it, okay? Doesn't have to be your lifetime best, but it shouldn't be like terrible, right? And work it on 120, maybe 5 of those. And you can extrapolate that down to your age group swimmer. 2 on a minute, 1 on 150, right? Something like that. One of the things that I think is important is that you have a way of kind of talking about intensities. And we have a lot of them. When I went to France, they were like, wow, you got a lot of ways to say fast and slow. I'm like, yeah, I do. Our favorite one is this. If you ever look at our workouts, you'll see medium, medium hard, 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 hard. If I told you that, you know exactly what I was saying, right? But I don't want easy, right? Like, otherwise, you get into a French descend. I learned with Léon Marchand what a French descend is. A French descend is you don't try at all on the first ones, and on the last one, you try harder than anybody ever tried in the history of trying. It drives the kids crazy when he does that, and me. Like, you know, Léon will go like, if I don't tell him exactly what to do, and it says descend 1 to 4, like, I don't know, 100 frees. It'll be like 56, 55, 51, 45, 2. And I'll be like, no. So it's like you're kind of working on a lot of different levels there. Oh, you want another fly threshold set? Who asked me that? Yeah. Oh, you asked me that. Yeah. Joe asked me. I got this from Jack Bowerly. Okay, again, change the numbers for your swimmers. But this is just something that Léon did, and Luca Orlando and Ilya and those guys did. But you could go like 3100s, 1 on 110, free, 1 on 105, 1 fly on a minute. These are people that go 136 and the 2 fly, right? So it's like, can be 130, 125, whatever you want it to be, right? 120. And these are just kind of like, I told actually Léon he had to be under a minute on these, under 55 on these, and under 50 on these. And he did. So that's a threshold set for sure. There's nothing but. It cannot be. But you do it on the intervals. You know, I'm a interval squasher from way back. And that's why, because you can control the intensity of the aerobic work that way. Actually, any of the work that way. Yeah. Anybody else? Sorry, I'll come back.
So my coach growing up, he would get our threshold time by taking our 200 divided to add 7.
Yeah.
And that was like 100 threshold time. Is that still like relevant?
There's a number of different ways to derive your threshold times.
Yeah.
You can do it off of a time trial, like a 200 time trial. And what I use is John Urbanchuk actually developed, and Jim Richardson developed algorithms that you could put it in and it would give you a statistical number, right, of what these paces should be.
Yeah.
The original way to do it would be a 3,000 for time, right? Mm-hmm. The 30 minutes, T30, everybody's doing T30. Yeah. And the problem with that is you're going to get one good one, and after that it ain't going to be any good. And I don't care because I would just take the paces off of that and then adjust them myself as they go. I just make them faster. But the way we do it is on a test of like 300s. Like we would probably go 10 300s, descend 1 to 3 and hold it. And it would be on an interval where they might get 20 seconds rest, whatever that is. Because that's ideal threshold training is about 20 seconds rest for like a 400, a 300, 200. For 100, it's probably 10. And above that, you're getting into different areas. You know, I talked a lot about these intervals. How you choose these intervals is very important. Because if you give somebody a 200 and they get a minute rest, that is not red pace. That's way up in the blue, green, whatever. And they're going hard. They need to have about 10 seconds rest for 100, right? If you're doing a 200, 20 is bang on. 320 works great. 400 could be 30. I mean, you can adjust it. None of this is like, we don't know a lot of it, but you learn that you want to be in a range, right? That's what your target is. Your target is to be in a range of energy systems, not necessarily, you're never going to get it to this point, right? I'll give you one more old man thing. We had a kid who was swimming amazingly at the U.S. Open, and before the 200 free final, he came up to me and said, can't swim. I'm like, okay. And he ran to the bathroom because he had taken sodium bicarb for the first time. And everybody thinks this is like this cutting edge thing. Paul Bergen and I were doing sodium bicarb in the 90s. Here. Okay? It's been around for a long time. The research says it works, and it does. But you know how it works? It works with a specific dose for a specific physiology at an incredibly specific time before a specific event. So if you want to stand back here and take a dart and throw it at a bullseye that's 2 rooms over there and hope you hit it, take your sodium bicarb. Seriously, it's just a waste of time. Sorry, all you people who need the hacks. Yeah, it does work if you had a doctor test your blood, test your body weight, get body composition, know exactly when you're going to swim, and give it to you 13 minutes and 30 seconds before your swim. Might work. Why do we spend time on that? That's what I'm doing with these intervals. I'm trying to get in a range that I know is likely to give us what we want. Yeah? This is not like rocket science. Just get close to it. You don't have to be right on it. You're never going to get right on it. Everything's changing all the time. Hey, that was a nice little soapbox. Feels good to get that out. How about water? How about, a carbohydrate drink? Just do that. Before we're worried about sodium bicarb, how about make the intervals on your main set? Or show up to every practice. It's along the same lines of the greatest age group parent thing of all time. Do you think we could videotape Johnny? I'm like, yeah, we can, but for the last month, Johnny came to 40% of the practices. In school, if he got 40%, what would that grade be? Oh, that'd be an F. Well, Johnny's getting an F. Maybe he could just try to do the homework and get an A first and then we'll videotape it. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, here's the main thing. Let's focus on something way over here and hope it works. Okay. I think we're done. I'll be back. Appreciate it.